and we go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline. Voice of the Riders, Dave Thomas. Day 2 of practice, Dave. And how are things at Mosaic? What was going on the field today?
Well, it was kind of more of the same from yesterday in the fact that there weren't really any changes. Now, Mike Rose didn't participate. I did see him around the facility, so not really concerned that he'll miss the game. But again, that's just me judging a guy walking around. But again, it was crisp. There's some intricacies in the performance today and some things that we maybe hadn't seen a little bit from the Rough Riders and some different usage of players in different spots. But par for the course, I would suggest. Sean Bain Jr. was perhaps the most active and the most notable guy that is still coming back from, of course, that knee injury. He was trying out a knee brace today, while on the other sideline, away from the fans and the media, Thomas Bertrand Houdans was running some sprints on the far side, which is indeed a good thing to see him doing that, as he is on, of course, the 6-game injured list after a strong start to the campaign.
I know the Riders have only played 8 games, and we're kind of 9 weeks in. But just hearing the name Thomas Bertrand Houdon, doesn't it seem like a lifetime ago that he was injured and out of the lineup because of the games they've played and all the other players that have filled in? Like, I'm trying to think back to that week 2 Hamilton game when we went on the road and won 28-23. That could be 5 years ago, not 8 weeks ago.
It certainly doesn't seem like it was last night by any stretch of the imagination, and we've had
No.
Kadeem Carey come in and out of the lineup since. So yeah, it's amazing how quickly this season is going by.
Yesterday, after chatting with a rash and then with Suits, some of the comments online, and Dave, you know this, never read the comments online because the internet's not necessarily a great place. I was called a Bomber apologist because it sounded like Maz is feeling bad because the Bombers are playing inconsistent. Like, I can only imagine what it is. When you're the play-by-play guy of a 7-1 football team, everybody's in love with everything you do, so we don't got to worry about that. I'm looking forward to chatting with Rick Zamprin coming up after 5. And Dave, if anything, what we've seen from that week 2 game, the Ticat defense has gotten a lot better, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And, yesterday we kind of talked about, you're saying, oh boy, they're not household names. And the big thing and concern right now is the injuries in the backfield for the Hamilton Ticats. But Peters and Katsantonis have been held back in their practice. So we'll see whether or not the two of them can play. Of course, one being the starting corner, the other starting safety. And then, of course, you look at Talbert, you've got Casey Sales, you've got Julian Hauser along the defensive line. The Hamilton Tiger Cats defense, I think, started a little bit slowly. Don't forget they brought in a new defensive coordinator this year, Brent Monson. But again, to me, I see them trending in the right direction, albeit not really having that proof in the pudding as far as the statistics are concerned.
Monson and Mace come from that Calgary coaching tree with Huff and Dickinson, and there's a lot of similarities in their defense. And now that they're playing well, it's the Monson Mace matchup on Saturday that I'm looking forward to be like, all right, who's going to get the better of who? Because they both call a great game and have a great scheme.
Yeah, you're right. And the one thing I'm excited for is, you hear in the CFL who's going to have the ball last, right? How many times do you hear that terminology? Well, this time, who's going to make the big defensive stop first is what I think we're looking at. And two offenses that are dynamic have proven that they can move the ball. And the one number that jumped off the page today at me was, we always talk about Bo Levi Mitchell and his want to go deep. You realize the Saskatchewan Roughriders have actually thrown more deep passes from Trevor Harris this year than Bo Levi Mitchell has, and maybe that's a sign of what he's become as a quarterback. But this is going to be a matchup to see which defense leaves what out on the field for the opposition to take advantage of.
I'm thinking whatever the betting lines are, don't take the under. If it works out that way, that's one thing. But like last week, that game with BC, it was what, 43-42? No, what was it? What did the final score end up being?
46 point deficit. Yeah.
Oh, 41-38. And I'm like, all right, 79 points. Yeah, I don't know what the lines are, but I probably wouldn't take the under. But it's funny because, yeah, that's Bo's old MO. Everybody just assumes, but unless you say that stat, I don't think of Trevor Harris and the Mark Mueller offense. Like, we watch it happen, but that's not what they're tagged with. Because when you have AJ Ouellette running the ball, well, they're a run first team. Well, maybe not. It's the run is set. It seems like, Dave, the run is setting up the pass.
Absolutely. Look at all the play action that the Rough Riders run and that run pass option that they run as well. So really, as long as the running game can move, the team is okay. And the Riders have the second most balanced offensive set in the entire Canadian Football League. So that is such a huge plus for Mark Mueller, knowing that his entire playbook is open all of the time. Now, conversely, the number that jumps off is 72%. 72% of the time, the Saskatchewan Roughriders defense are going to be facing a pass. So yes, they've given up a lot of pass yardage, but nobody wants to run the ball against them or can run the ball against them. So you bring up a great point in the fact that the running game for both teams could be pretty key in this one to see who comes out on top.
What's the over-under on runs by the Hamilton offense on Saturday? I'm going to go under 13 because there's been games where they ran it 8 times. The prob 10, they're going to have to try and do it, but a crazy number could be, I'm just picking 13 out of the air because they don't do it. They fake play action. They're just, we're here, we're going to pretend we just ran that, and I'm going to fake play action, and I'm just going to throw the ball.
Well, it's interesting if you break down their rushing attempts, right? There's a lot of short yardage attempts that are in there as well, which kind of bolsters that. The interesting part is that, of course, Milani Litre, started the year as a fullback, right? And the short yardage guy that was operating things, but he's been nicked up the last couple of weeks. So it's been Jake Dolegala that's been operating short yardage. So it'll be interesting. But again, if you want to pick an over under, I would say that probably a good bet would be at 10, maybe 10 and a half.
So you're going 10. I'm going to go 13 because to me, that's an offensive explosion for a Hamilton Ticat run game. And 5 of those are going to be Dolegala's. 5 of those are going to be Dolegala's. Watch that.
Well, watch out, Greg Bell, though. He's going to come in here. And again, I have got so much respect for him as a running back. If you watch his body of work and just his ability to see the field, he's a great running back. He just hasn't got the football yet.
I wonder if Bo has to talk to him on the side and be like, hey, I promise this series, man, at least once we're gonna get you at least once a quarter. Okay. Just stay ready. Stay with me, my friend. We're like, and it's funny because what was it? I'm flipping pages here. I'm going through my notes. Peter Borsch of the Regina Thunder on the weekend had 310 yards rushing. That is not a page out of the Scott Milanovich playbook.
No, definitely isn't. And it's actually funny. That wasn't a franchise record. A franchise record for the Regina Thunder was 390 yards rushing in a game. So you were 80 yards off. Like you weren't even close at 310.
I always, if I'm the quarterback, to be like, what's wrong with me? Why won't they let me throw? Come on. Hey, guys, what? Call a pass play. Big news in the CFL today. McLeod Bethel Thompson on the 6-game injured list. The Montreal Alouettes bring in Cameron Dukes, who was cut by the Argos during training camp. I thought they just benched McLeod Bethel Thompson. I didn't realize he was hurt last week.
Well, he did end the game with ice pack on the elbow, right? So he came out at halftime, ice pack on the elbow. So yeah, I don't think he was pulled necessarily because of the injury, and maybe I'm wrong. It could have been a situation where he couldn't continue, but I truly believe that Caleb Evans was the guy that was just handed the ball. We need something to go on offense here, take the ball and run. And now he's got an opportunity, and this is kind of make or break at time, I would suggest, for the young man, because he's had opportunities to run the offense. He's had people pass him like Davis Alexander on the Alouettes depth chart. Now he's got an opportunity, and that's all you ask for, right?
Could you imagine being a quarterback in the Canadian Football League, like a Cameron Dukes? It's funny. One play, next thing you're out of the league, now you're back in the league. And it could be one play, and next thing you know, you're the starting quarterback of the Montreal Alouettes, and you've had he may get in one practice. Because the Alouettes this week, who they play? They're playing Edmonton, aren't they?
They are, absolutely. Friday night.
BC on Saturday.
Pardon me, Edmonton's got Toronto.
Yeah, BC. Right. Edmonton's got Toronto and BC on Saturday. I wonder if he gets in the game. Like, I wonder if, because keep in mind, Jason Moss to me is the guy that's crazy enough and confident enough because he's a quarterback himself to be like, all right, we got 3 things for you. all right, we're going to do this, this, and this. Because if um, Evans struggles against the Lions, do you just ride that out, or do you have to try and win to keep pace? That's the hard part now because we're in the meat of the schedule.
See, I was trying to follow the familiarity, right? So you line up because, of course, sometimes, okay, so who do you know and who trusts you, who knows you, right? And who's bringing you in? And with Cameron Dukes, there are some ties, but there's none that are like jumping off the page at you when it comes to Montreal. But I think the thing that does jump off the page is the potential. I don't think there's any way that he learns the playbook in a week. I think
No.
that this is an
Oh, no.
opportunity to come in and bring somebody in for just the absolute worst case scenario, to have a third guy on your roster and then give him a chance and see how he progresses. Because I'll be truthful, like last year he was given the opportunity. The Toronto Argonauts saw something in him. Ryan Dinwiddie, again, I've got all the respect in the world for him as a coach and the way that he's able to evaluate talent. And I was surprised when they let Cameron Dukes go, but then I thought to myself,
Yeah,
okay, they got a young guy in behind Nick Arbuckle, so maybe what they're thinking is that, okay, maybe somebody else will pick him up, right? And they're not hoping for that, but I was surprised that no one did. I thought for sure,
me too.
especially with Drew Brown going down a couple of times in Ottawa, wasn't going to be surprised if I heard that the Red Blacks were calling. But it's an opportunity for Cameron Dukes, and like I say, I trust the evaluation that others have seen in him, and I think he can do it. He just needs more experience to get there.
I thought that the Alouettes might have done it the first time Davis Alexander got injured. For the simple fact, if it is a hamstring, because when you saw Alexander injure it the second time, anytime he's going to take off now, that hamstring can go. And it's just like, oh no, now what do we do? It's a great situation that we as Rider fans are in, knowing Trevor Harris is healthy, and we have a room full of people behind Trevor, just ready, waiting, and able, if needed, if called, to go. Because last year at this time, we were that team going, okay, so what do we got in our backups? What do we got? A third string, potentially, if that doesn't go, like you were game planning to game plan for your backup quarterback, as opposed to just being able to focus on the team. And whether anybody would ever publicly admit that, it's, you don't wish it on anybody else, but you sure are happy that it's not happening to you.
But isn't it funny how fickle things are, right? One play can change an
Mm-hmm.
entire outcome and projection course, right, for a team.
Saturday forecast looks good. 25 degrees and sunny. That's perfect football weather. As we're kind of getting into mid-August, that's dog days. We could say that's dog days, right? Like we're
I,
mid-August 16th, dog days.
I've heard that before, but I did hear something very interesting today, and don't ask me why I was hanging around outside the Roughriders ticket office at Mosaic Stadium, but the entire upper deck is completely opened up, and the tickets are moving quickly. Like it has been a brisk day as people are getting pretty excited about this matchup on a Saturday afternoon. So if you're coming, I wouldn't delay. I would give them a call and get your seats secured because, like I say, it was a busy place down that way today.
I think I saw online there's less than 2,000 seats um,
That would require
available.
me counting and or doing research, neither of
Yeah.
which I did. So
It's funny. It's funny. Winning cures a lot of stuff. Classic example, and I'll flip this to baseball for a second. Dave, have you heard anybody complain about the Blue Jays front office in the past 3 months? No, you haven't. Why? Because they're winning and they're in first place. Nobody cares who's running the Blue Jays right now, because the Blue Jays and what they're doing on the field is doing all the talking. And it's nice to see. With Hamilton coming to town, you're going to have Bo Levi Mitchell. You're going to have, and Arash posed the question yesterday, is how are you going to cover Kenny Lawler? Can you play a man? Like, what do you do? He thought that's the big story for Saturday, is how can you scheme against Kenny Lawler? While you may do something for him, the weapons around Kenny that Bo has to use, him as a decoy is just as dangerous sometimes as him going up for a 50-50 ball.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you look at Kenny Lawler's numbers. Yes, they've slowed down since the start of the season, but you're right. A lot of the teams going back in film have started double teaming and double covering him and or even shadowing him from the line of scrimmage. And those are all great ideas to have, but you do that and you're going to leave Keandre Smith, the Shamar Bridges open. You're going to
Mm-hmm.
again, there's so many different weapons that Bo Levi has had. And I think even early in the year that Bo Levi was really specifically targeting Kenny Lawler. And one of the
Yes.
transformations that Bo Levi has made is that, hey, you know what? I know he's out there, but with guys on him, I don't need to throw it into traffic. There has to be someone open somewhere else. And he's exhibiting some patience that perhaps he hasn't exhibited before or as much of in his career, which is making him such a threat this year. And you're right. Kenny Lawler just out there running, that's going to draw the eyes of the defense for sure.
It seemed like the first 3 games, every second down that Hamilton had, Bo was looking for Kenny Lawler. And he was able to find him sometimes. Kenny had some drops that were kind of uncharacteristic. And then when he started kind of spreading it around, like it's funny, they became a little more dangerous and not as one dimensional. The thing with Bo is, like we chatted yesterday, they make themselves one dimensional because they're not much of a run game. And if you hope as a Rider fan, please go one dimensional and just try and go Lawler, Lawler, Lawler. And if we can stop that, but that's the evolution that we saw. Coming up on the show just after 4 o'clock, CFL Hall of Famer Nick Lewis is going to join us. And Dave, you've been watching CFL for a long time. Was he not one of your, although he was never a Rider, he was one of my favorite receivers in the CFL. Just how he played the game. He was so good and so tough.
He was one of the first physical receivers in the CFL before it was cool to be a physical receiver. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm a Rider fan through and through. I couldn't cheer for him, but I could admire the work that he did.
Mm-hmm.
And just him being involved in the blocking scheme for the running game, I think really was kind of a trendsetter because before that, the receivers really didn't get their hands dirty a lot. But Nick Lewis showed them that it was cool to do that. And then he proved that it was pretty cool to run over somebody too when he had the football in his hands.
Oh, man. When he would, like, once again, like you, Rider fan, not a Stamps fan. Stamps used to kill us all the time. But when you would see Nick Lewis run over some poor 175-pound DB that just and not just lightly put them down, like mow them down without apology, and then just keep on going. I always wondered, I'm like, even if it was just for a year in the twilight, Nick Lewis in a Rider uniform for me would have been like, all right, 71 touchdowns, 13,778 yards. That's why he's in the CFL Hall of Fame. 1,000 receptions. Oh, he was so good and so dominant. But when you think back, those teams, those were battles against the Riders. Because look at the receive when Lewis was doing it at a high level for the Stamps. Like we had the Getzlaffs and the Fantuses and the Dresslers, and we had guys like that going up against like the Lewises and let's see, who were some of those other Calgary receivers that they had at the time? Mark Way McDaniel was one of them. Let's see, it was a battle every game, and he just separated himself. So I'm looking forward to chatting with him. And then this Aaron Stankiewicz from the Saskatchewan Sports Hall of Fame that's going to join us. So the 75th Labor Day Classic is coming up. Isn't it crazy that they have it's footage from the first one, correct, Dave? Like this is where this all stemmed from, the archives. And hey, anybody want to see the first Labor Day Classic?
Yeah,
okay,
that's
sure.
That's really cool. And the thing that I don't know if you ever been to the Saskatchewan Sports Hall of Fame, I used to drive by it all the time when I was younger. And then last year I actually stopped in and I'm like, this is some cool stuff. So the things that they've archived are pretty cool because you're not obviously going to find them anywhere else, but things that you wouldn't think of. If you're a curling aficionado, of course, you've heard of the Turner Curling Museum down in Weyburn, hometown plug. But also there's a great stack of memorabilia from the world of curling. The old Regina Pats jerseys are in there. It's pretty cool. So just saying, it's a cool spot to visit, and putting this out for the 75th anniversary of the Labor Day Classic is going to be neat. And I know Rob Vanstone is involved in going through some of the history of the game and the rivalry. It should be a good time.
I'm going to take you to task. I know you just gave Weyburn a shout out. We still have not recovered from your comment was that a few weeks ago, or was that late June, about the quality of schooling you got in the Weyburn public school system, that they did not teach you how to speak French. We're still not over that. There is no home of Dave Thomas going on the Weyburn sign if the Riders win the Grey Cup this year. No. Listen, you have got some makeup work to do there, my friend. All right. On the show today, we're going to hear from Joe Robustelli, Tavon Campbell, Marcus Sales, and Coach Corey Mace. He is voice of the Riders, Dave Thomas. Hey, if you've seen it in your social media feeds, because it's part of the algorithm, Dave, this insider newsletter, give us the rundown, and why do we need to sign up at sportscage.com? Tell us how our lives as sports fans get better once we connect you with an email address.
Well, when you go to sportscage.com, first of all, you can sign up to become an insider, and every day in your inbox, you will get the very latest news out of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So who's in, who's out, who's hurt, the stories that we're following, plus sports from around the province, whether it's hockey, whether it's lacrosse, whether it's basketball, baseball. We've got all the leagues in our province covered in one convenient spot, and you don't have to go anywhere to get it. It comes right to your phone while you're on it. And once you've signed up, you're in for all of the great ways to win, including tickets to see the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and you could have dinner with a very famous fellow in Jeremy Roenick. I don't know if I was allowed to say any of that, but I'll tell you that get signed up now so that you get all the details on that. Just go to sportscage.com.
Dave Thomas with breaking news. I am not on a lot of emails. Maybe I am. I maybe have missed the Jeremy Roenick. That's pretty cool. One thing about JR, if you go to dinner, he may not hold back. He may tell you exactly what's on his mind. There's no filter there.